Money is not just paper and coins. It is the reflection of your choices, your habits, and your discipline. The question is not how much you earn, but how wisely you use it, multiply it, and let it serve your future. Most people are chasing money, yet money quietly obeys those who understand its rules. Today, I want to show you the way 13 rules that reveal not just how to get money, but how to make money work for you. Because wealth is not a destination, it is the natural consequence of the decisions you make each day. Think of money as a tool, neutral, yet powerful. In the hands of the undisciplined, it disappears. In the hands of the wise, it grows, compounds, and opens doors that effort alone cannot unlock. I've seen people make fortunes and lose them in a heartbeat, while others quietly built empires from nothing, simply by following a few timeless principles. Your mind must first be ready before your wallet can be. Money follows clarity, order, and purpose. It is patient with preparation, but impatient with ignorance. The way you think about money determines the way it moves in your life. Today, I'll teach you how to attract it, respect it, grow it, and let it serve your goals, your family, and your freedom. If you learn these 13 rules, you won't just see a paycheck differently. You'll see opportunity differently. You'll see risk differently. You'll see yourself differently. Because wealth begins in the mind long before it shows up in the bank. And remember, these rules are simple, but simplicity does not mean easy. Discipline, patience, and action are required. Those who master the rules of money master the art of freedom. Are you ready to see how money truly works? Let me tell you something I learned early on. Wealth is not something you chase. If you chase money, it runs. If you chase success, it hides. But if you become the kind of person worthy of those things, they find their way to you. That's the law of attraction, not the mystical kind, but the kind that's built on personal transformation. You don't get wealthy by running after dollars. You get wealthy by improving the person who earns them. Money is a magnet. It moves toward value. And value is created by the habits, character, and mindset you develop daily. I remember when I was broke, not just financially, but mentally. I wanted things to change in my wallet before they changed in my thinking. I used to say, I'll do more when I get paid more. But that's backward. Life doesn't pay you because you need it. It pays you because you deserve it. And you deserve it when you grow. When I changed the way I saw time, discipline, and effort, money started showing up in unexpected ways. The same job, the same hours, but a different attitude, and that attitude began to attract better opportunities, better people, and eventually better income. You see, attraction is about alignment. If you say you want wealth, but your habits shout laziness, confusion, or inconsistency, then life will believe your actions, not your words. Every small promise you keep to yourself builds credibility with the universe. When you say you'll wake up early, and you do, that's integrity. When you say you'll save instead of spend, that's discipline. When you choose growth over comfort, that's consistency. And those tiny invisible acts of discipline are what make success visible later. Don't waste your time chasing what could be attracted by your character. Don't beg for opportunities. Become so capable they can't ignore you. If you focus on improving yourself, wealth becomes the byproduct. Build the routines that sharpen your focus. Read when others scroll. Work when others sleep. Think when others complain. Because while most people are chasing, you'll be becoming. And once you become the kind of person who can handle wealth, that's when wealth comes looking for you. Remember, the secret is not to chase success. It's to attract it by the person you become. Most people want more money, but very few want to learn its language. And that's why money keeps running from them. See money is like a guest. It doesn't stay where it isn't respected or understood. You can't manage what you don't understand, and you can't attract what you constantly misuse. Wealth doesn't come by accident. It's learned, it's practiced, and it's spoken fluently by those who study its patterns. When I was a young man working a regular job, I used to think my problem was that I didn't earn enough. But my mentor told me something that changed everything. He said, "It's not the amount that matters. It's your ability to manage what you have." That struck me hard. because I realized if I couldn't handle a small paycheck, I'd never handle a big one. If I didn't know where my money was going, I was simply working for everyone else except myself. So I started small. I began tracking every dollar, where it came from, where it went, what it did. And for the first time, I started speaking the language of money. Money has a rhythm, a flow, and a structure. Once you learn how it moves, you stop being its servant and start being its master. I began reading everything I could find, books on finance, compounding, investing, and business. I didn't just want to make money. I wanted to understand how to keep it, multiply it, and make it work for me even while I slept. I studied the difference between assets and liabilities, between spending and investing. And I learned that every time I spent without thought, I was voting against my own freedom. Money works for people who work on themselves. The rich don't see dollars, they see seeds. They plant them, nurture them, and let time and discipline do the heavy lifting. But those who fear money, ignore it, or misuse it end up in cycles of scarcity. So if you truly want wealth, stop saying, "I'm bad with money." Start saying, "I'm learning its language." Track your finances, read one good financial book every month, and study people who make money work for them. Because once you learn to speak the language of money, you'll realize it's not about luck, it's about literacy. And literacy leads to liberty. One of the most dangerous habits in the world of wealth is lifestyle inflation, that quiet thief that sneaks in the moment your income starts to rise. Most people think more money solves problems. But for the undisciplined, more money just magnifies the problem. You see, when you buy things you don't need, soon you'll have to sell things you do. And I've watched it happen too many times. People finally begin earning more, and instead of building their foundation, they start building appearances. When I was just starting to make money, I fell into that same trap. I thought, well, now I can afford the better suit, the new car, the fancier apartment. My mentor smiled and said, "You can have it, but not yet." He told me something I'll never forget. Don't let your income grow faster than your wisdom. Because when your spending rises as fast as your earnings, you haven't gained wealth, you've only gained noise. And noise always drowns out opportunity. The goal isn't to look rich, it's to be rich. And real wealth grows quietly. The wealthy reinvest before they reward themselves. They delay luxury for leverage. They understand that every raise, every bonus, every new dollar is a tool, not a toy. So instead of asking, "What can I buy now?" they ask, "What can I build now?" That simple shift in mindset makes all the difference. So when your income rises, resist the temptation to inflate your lifestyle. Keep your car longer. Hold off on the unnecessary upgrades. Continue living as if your income were the same as last year, at least until your investments start paying you more than your job does. Review your expenses every few months and cut what doesn't serve your long-term goals. Use each raise as an opportunity to invest, not indulge. See, the poor spend first and save what's left. The wealthy invest first and spend what's left. The difference isn't luck, it's discipline. Every time you delay a purchase, you strengthen your ability to say no to impulse and yes to independence. Because wealth doesn't come from what you make, it comes from what you keep, multiply, and protect. So the next time your paycheck increases, don't ask, "What can I buy?" Ask instead, "How can I make this money grow?" When most people think about work, they think about wages. They think about getting paid on Friday, paying the bills, and maybe saving a little for the weekend. But that's not how wealth is built. Wealth isn't the result of clocking in. It's the result of learning, growing, and eventually creating something that pays you even when you're not there. That's why I've always said, work to learn, not just to earn. Because wages will make you a living, but profits can make you a fortune. When I was a young man, I used to ask, "How much does it pay?" That was the only question I cared about. But my mentor stopped me one day and said, "You're asking the wrong question. Don't ask how much it pays, ask what it makes of you." That single idea changed the entire direction of my life. Because what good is a paycheck if the job doesn't stretch you, challenge you, or teach you something valuable? money will always follow growth, but growth rarely follows money. So I started to approach work differently. I began volunteering for harder projects, not because they paid more, but because they forced me to develop new skills. I started observing people who were successful in business, not just what they earned, but how they thought. I asked questions, I listened, and I began to understand that wealthy people didn't work harder than everyone else. They worked smarter. They worked on systems, leverage, and ideas that multiplied their time and efforts. If you want to get rich from nothing, you have to shift your mindset from employee to entrepreneur, even if you still have a job. Use your current work as a classroom. Every day, ask yourself, what can I learn from this task? What skill am I developing today that will serve me in business tomorrow? Seek mentors who teach you how money moves, how value is created, and how to build something that pays you without your constant presence. Don't just work for money, work for skills. Because one day, those skills will build something far more valuable than a paycheck. They'll build freedom. Wages can feed your family, but wisdom can feed generations. So keep learning, keep stretching, and never trade growth for comfort, because comfort never built a fortune. If you ever want to know the secret to financial independence, it starts with one simple principle: spend less than you earn. Always. No matter how much you make, if your outflow exceeds your income, your upkeep will be your downfall. It's not how much you earn that counts, it's how much you keep. And that single truth separates those who live free from those who live trapped. No matter the size of their paycheck. I learned this lesson early, and not because I wanted to, but because I had to. There was a time when my wallet was empty, but my pride was full. I tried to keep up with people who were spending on appearances, nicer clothes, fancier cars, dinners out, and for a while, it looked good. But it didn't feel good, because behind every illusion of wealth was debt, anxiety, and dependence. Then one day, my mentor sat me down and said, "You don't look rich, you look tired. Try living below your means. That's where real wealth begins." From that moment, I changed the game. I started budgeting every week. I wrote down exactly what came in and where it went out. I began to see that money was like a mirror. It reflected my habits, not my income. When I started cutting the excess, I discovered something powerful. Freedom didn't come from having more. It came from needing less. Living below your means doesn't mean living without joy. It means living with purpose. It's not about deprivation, it's about direction. The wealthy don't spend to impress, they spend to progress. They know the difference between looking rich and being rich. They don't chase shiny objects, they chase assets that grow quietly while others are distracted by luxury. So learn to make frugality fashionable. Buy what holds value, not what feeds vanity. Choose quality over trend, function over flash. Every time you choose to spend wisely, you cast a vote for your future. You show discipline, maturity, and understanding, because every dollar you save today becomes a seed for tomorrow's freedom. And one day, when others are asking how you became financially independent, you'll smile and say, "I started by living on less than I earned." That's not sacrifice, that's a strategy for peace, power, and prosperity. One of the greatest lessons you can learn about money is this: never depend on a single source of income. Relying on one paycheck, one business, or one customer is like standing on one leg. You might balance for a while, but the moment something shifts, you fall. True financial security doesn't come from having more, it comes from having more sources. And that begins when you learn to multiply what you've already built. When I was working my first job, I thought I was doing everything right. I showed up early, stayed late, worked hard, but my mentor said, "That's good, but if that's all you ever do, you'll only ever earn enough to survive. To thrive, you must make money in more than one way." That idea struck me. I started to look at my skills differently, not just as tools for my job, but as seeds that could grow into something more. You see, the wealthy think in streams, not ponds. A pond dries up, but streams flow from multiple directions. Once I had one solid income, I began to build others. I took what I knew and found ways to serve more people. I sold ideas, not just hours. I created value that could live without me: books, programs, Businesses. Each new stream didn't appear overnight. It began with small, deliberate steps. But over time, each one became a pillar of security. The truth is, most people stop too early. They wait until their job is perfect or their business is booming before thinking about expansion. Don't wait for perfection. Wait for stability. Once your first stream can stand on its own, use your time and creativity to build another. Turn your skills into services, your experience into education, your ideas into products. And once those streams start flowing, don't spend the extra, reinvest it. Build the next one. The beauty of multiple streams of income is that they give you choice, and choice is the ultimate form of wealth. When one stream slows, another keeps flowing. When markets shift, you're not shaken. You're balanced, steady, and free. So remember, one income buys comfort, but many incomes buy freedom. Build wisely. And one day, you'll look around and realize your life flows like a river, steady, abundant, and unstoppable. One of the most powerful forces in your life is the company you keep. The people you spend your time with don't just influence your habits. They shape your thoughts, your beliefs, and ultimately your wealth. I learned early that if I wanted to grow financially, I couldn't do it alone. Surrounding myself with financially wise people changed everything. There's an old saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Take a moment to reflect on that. If your closest friends are constantly complaining about money, chasing shortcuts, or dismissing opportunities, chances are your financial thinking is being quietly limited. On the other hand, if you spend your time with people who challenge, inspire, and teach you, you'll find yourself leveling up naturally. Early in my journey, I had the chance to meet someone who had achieved the kind of financial independence I wanted. At first, I felt out of place. Their habits were disciplined, their mindset focused, and their conversations revolved around opportunity, growth, and long-term thinking. But over time, by listening, observing, and participating, I absorbed their principles. I noticed how they invested their money, how they spent their time, and how they turned setbacks into lessons. That environment taught me more than any book or seminar could. The strategy is simple but powerful. Elevate your environment. Seek out mentors and peers with proven results, not just theory. Attend meetings, workshops, and circles where people are serious about growth and wealth. And equally important, distance yourself from negativity, gossip, complaints, or envy that can drain focus and energy. Your mindset is like a garden. The wrong company plants weeds. The right company plants seeds that grow into abundance. This doesn't mean you ignore or abandon everyone. It means you're intentional about who influences your thinking and who supports your ambitions. You can still be kind, helpful, and generous, but your inner circle should fuel your vision, not sabotage it. Financial wisdom is contagious, and by absorbing it through proximity, your decisions, habits, and mindset will transform naturally. Choose carefully, invest in relationships that inspire growth, and remember, wealth isn't just what you earn, it's who you become alongside the right people. Your circle is your unseen advisor. Make it count. Time is the great equalizer, yet it is the one resource most people waste as if it were infinite. I've often said, time is more valuable than money. You can always make more money, but not more time. Think about that for a moment. No investment, no business deal, no stock can return the hours you let slip by. The way you spend your time today will define the wealth you experience tomorrow. Early in my life, I worked long hours in a business that paid well, but I noticed something critical. Those who were truly wealthy weren't just busy, they were intentional with every hour. They traded time for learning, growth, and opportunity, not for idle distraction or fleeting pleasure. The strategy is simple, but rarely practiced. Treat your time as currency. Schedule blocks for deep work that actually moves your life forward. When I was building my career, I blocked mornings for reading, planning, and skill development, time when most were distracted or resting. Those hours devoted to sharpening the mind compounded in ways money alone could never replicate. Likewise, track the low-value tasks that silently steal your day. I remember logging my daily activities and realizing hours were lost to unproductive meetings, social chatter, and unnecessary errands. That awareness alone created a massive shift. Automation and delegation are your allies. Not every task requires your unique talent. Free yourself from trivial obligations. Learn to say no to the distractions that don't feed your growth. Use your time to invest in yourself, to study markets, to practice skills, and to plan strategically. I once invested just 1 hour daily for a year into learning financial principles. And by the end of that period, the compounded knowledge alone created opportunities far beyond what an extra paycheck could have done. The truth is, wealth and freedom are a direct result of how wisely you spend your time. You can work harder, earn more, and still feel trapped if you ignore this principle. But the person who guards their hours, who treats time as sacred and intentional, builds a life where money, opportunity, and growth flow naturally. Every minute you invest wisely compounds. Protect it, respect it, and use it to craft the future you desire. True wealth is not measured by the size of your paycheck, but by the assets you accumulate and how those assets work for you. Early in life, I watched countless people chase higher salaries while their expenses grew just as fast, leaving them no closer to real financial freedom. That's because wealth is not what you earn, it's what you keep and grow. It's the difference between living paycheck to paycheck and having your money labor for you. The strategy here is straightforward. Focus on building assets, not just income. Income is temporary, assets are permanent. I learned this lesson when I started putting a small portion of my earnings into things that could appreciate, whether it was stocks, real estate, or business ventures. Each dollar invested was like planting a tree. It required patience, care, and the discipline to resist the temptation to spend it. Over time, these assets produced income on their own, compounding quietly in the background, while those who only chased bigger paychecks remained trapped in the cycle of working for money. Practical steps make this strategy actionable. Start by identifying appreciating assets, things that grow in value or produce passive cash flow. That could mean buying a rental property, investing in a small business, or even acquiring knowledge that multiplies your ability to earn in the future. Next, systematically reduce liabilities. Each debt eliminated is a step toward freeing your money to work for you rather than against you. Track every dollar that leaves your hands and make deliberate choices that prioritize growth over consumption. Finally, let your assets produce income for you. Reinvest the returns rather than spending them immediately. The true power of wealth comes when your money begins to make more money, independent of your labor. I remember friends who doubled their income but also doubled their spending. Meanwhile, a small, consistent investment in assets quietly created opportunities that eventually allowed them to stop worrying about paychecks at all. That's the difference between earning and truly building wealth. Your paycheck is temporary, your assets are the foundation of lasting freedom. Shift your focus. Build assets that serve you and watch wealth grow quietly, steadily, and powerfully over time.